We just truly believe in let's try to build the best possible product we can. There is no perfect RV. It'll never be built. They're made by humans, but we try damn hard to make it as good as possible. When you're looking for something, and like we said, the all aluminum construction matters, this is one of those little magic places to check, okay? Our opinion is that this is going to be, like, this is the best suspension system that we have found in today's environment for longevity. Once you go Rockwood, like, that's all you want. You go Rockwood, you're never going back. What are you laughing about?
What's going on, everybody? This is Hunter. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today, I've got a guest star with me. The first time I've done this. This is going to be Rockwood Zach. No.
Well, hello.
Maybe we used to, you know, let it fly.
Let's let it go.
So I think today we're doing something a little bit differently. Instead of doing like a floor plan overview, we're going to do a video on why buy Rockwood, kind of educational, fun, you know, things like that. And I think, you know, first off, it is the 50th anniversary for Rockwood. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, no, and thank you for inviting me and doing this. This is kind of fun to do for me as well. And yeah, our goal today is more just, I think, educational. Of there's so many little things we do, but you know, when somebody asks like, why should I own a Rockwood or Flagstaff? It's, you know, the thing to me comes back to, like you just said, so we're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah. And in that 50 years, like, we've built over 1 million towables, which is also crazy.
That is crazy.
And with that, I say, like, we've learned some things, right? Like, it's like you and I, you know, I make a little bit better decisions today than I did when I was 17 years old. You know, It's like I've been there, done that. Like, oh, I remember when I was an idiot and did that. So we've learned some things, and we've changed a lot. And, you know, the people that we have, and it sounds like corporate BS, you know, like our people, you know, we care, we're a family.
It is about the people.
But it is.
Yeah.
And we're an anomaly in the industry. I mean, our general manager actually just retired in February, and he was with us for like 49 years. Our general manager, 49 years. Our general manager who took over, Carl, has been with us like 22 years.
Yeah, and he's not even that old.
No, he's my age. He's 42 years old.
The crazy thing is, too, is when I went down there, I don't mean to interrupt you, is I went down to the factory, messed around, did a couple tours with you guys. But what I thought was crazy is when I was sitting down with lunch, I was talking with some of the technicians. Yeah. There were so many of them that have been there like 15, 20 years. One of them even said 30, which is just crazy to think about. Because I go to a lot of the other factories, and it's like, well, yeah, last week I was working at X brand.
Exactly.
There is a very lack of consistency in a lot of these brands. So I thought that was
totally, and that matters. Like, our bench is really deep, right? Like, the average tenure of our line worker, right? The people building this, truly the most important people we have. The people that are building these, an average of 8 years. Yeah. 7 to 8 years, depending on how you want to average it out.
They're not building RVs, they're building Rockwoods.
Right, and that's the difference. Like, think about that. The average tenure of our employee on the line has been with us longer than some of our competitors have been in business. And we have multiple 3-generation families. Yeah. 3 generation.
That's crazy.
You know, 50 years ago, the grandfather started, brought the grandson in, and now the granddaughter's working there too. And they're all still there. Like, the community in that, we have 6 plants, including our lamination facility. You want to take a guess at the average tenure of our plant managers?
Oh, probably through the roof.
Minimum 20 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
As a plant manager, you know, and so that depth of being there, it says a lot, because you don't when you don't have that turnover, it's because you have a different culture, and the culture that we have is truly one of, like, do the right thing.
Sure.
And that, again, that sounds like such corporate, like, whoa, take care of your customer. It's actually true, and you don't really see it until you're in the family and, like, an owner or work for one of our dealers out there. We're
going
different.
to do videos at all these different factories.
Yeah, it's different. You got to experience it, I'm sure. When
you
walk through,
it is different.
It's a totally different vibe, and everybody is just going the same direction. It's do the right thing. Like I've said before, I mean, there is no perfect RV. We build something that's better than basically anything in the market, and we care, but it's how you handle it, right? Like, something's going to go wrong, tow it down the road, and things happen. Yeah. How do we handle it? How do we take care of our customers? And that's what we're known for. And I think about, you know, like, here's a perfect example of little things like this book. So obviously 50 years, celebrating our 50th anniversary. But this book right here, you know, one complaint that a lot of people have in the industry is owner's manuals.
Yeah, almost non-existent or generic.
It's generic.
Yeah.
It's like you get a 2024 Forest River.
It's a QR code and hasn't changed in 3 years.
Yeah. This is VIN specific. So this book that we build right here is VIN specific to this exact unit that we're in. Now, keep in mind, we build tens of thousands of these a year.
Sure.
We have a team that physically builds these books, has their own room that they do it. All these owner's manuals right here, these are the items that are in this unit, not just a generic batch of things. I mean, you have question and answer stuff in here. You even have stuff in here that is, a lot of people view as like, oh, this is proprietary information. We don't want to share it. Like,
actually, I've had some reps when I was selling that refused to send me that.
They won't, because they feel like it's like proprietary.
That is crazy.
So now, let's say you have...
Oh, wow, you get into it.
Oh, yeah, you can get into all kinds of stuff. And let's say you have a customer that's looking at this unit, but they've got a shop, and it's only 38 feet long, but then somewhere at like 18 and a half feet, they have a support beam. And they're wanting to know, well, can I run this slide out? And then will it fit in my shop and I can still run the slide out? It's little things like this for you to be able to look at this, give them the measurements, and help them figure this out. Like, just stuff like that nobody else wants to do. Our number one goal is, like, we just want to make it easier for our owners to use them, have fun, and not have problems.
Yeah, like even something like that, though, because I struggled with it. Even I was one of the, I would say, the higher volume salesmen probably in the country.
You were.
And the amount of times I primarily, a lot of my business came from destination RVs.
Yep.
So, you know, not the Rockwood like travel trailers or fifth wheels, but I was very heavy on destinations.
Yeah.
And decks were almost a problem, patios.
Yeah.
And getting the actual true measurements. So that's actually pretty darn cool.
Yeah, and it's just, there's so many little things, and we're going to get into a ton of it with this video and the things we're going to touch on, and we don't even have time to do all of it. Like, that's one of the blessings and curses of what we do, is there is so much that we do that is different that a lot of times you can't see. I mean, there is so much. Even just like the cabinet backers that we use in sidewalls. Mm-hmm. Industry standard is a thin sheet of aluminum. I always say, imagine like a soda can cut in half. We use galvanized steel.
Sure.
You as an owner are never going to know that we use galvanized steel. All you know is your cabinets never rip off the wall. We overbuild for a reason, and then we try to give so much value to people, and then we try to take really good care of them. Like, that's it. It's our people inside. I tell my team in service and at manufacturing almost weekly that they basically give me superpowers. I just get to go out and talk to people and use my mouth for a living of just chatting and helping. They back us up so well. Like, if there's ever anything going on, I know for a fact I can kick something to them, and it's like that.
Sure.
It's the greatest feeling in the world. You know what it's like to not have support. When a customer's having a hard time with something and no support.
Nothing more frustrating.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the absolute worst, especially when there's no good reason. It's just like, no, nobody's calling back.
Yeah, it's crazy. I agree with you here. So let's do this. Why don't we? We'll get started. We'll get doing some construction and all of that. Now, do me a favor here. Put all of your feedback down in the comments, because this is new to me. I've never done anything like this before. So roast me up if you need to. But more importantly, provide feedback, because we're meeting up at the DRV party in a couple months here in March. So, you know, we'll probably do this again, but with your feedback, maybe we can shape it a little bit to help you guys out a little bit more. But let's go ahead and get on into it. All right, Zach, so here we are on the outside, and what we want to know is about exterior construction. Yeah. How is this thing built? Why Rockwood?
Okay, so there's one thing I always talk about is there are so many things that we do differently than what I think what I would say the industry finds to be an acceptable standard.
Sure.
We tend to disagree with. And a lot of it is many, many, many little things. And oftentimes, they're hard things to see. And I think one of the best things that we can do to help people that are in the market, want to buy, want to upgrade, is to educate them. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we don't know what we don't know until you're actually taught about it. And so there's quite a lot to talk about on Rockwood specifically that is different than the industry standard. And one of the main areas that I think makes a huge impact for our customers and our owners is going to be suspension and safety.
Sure.
Okay. Now, right now we're on our fifth wheels, and for 2025 and our fifth wheels, we're doing a few things different than we've historically done with our old fifth wheels and even our current travel trailers. So there's some differences there, and we can always jump over to a travel trailer and show what those differences are there. But
sure,
while we're on the fifth wheels, we've made some significant upgrades for 2025. And where this is rooted in is we're very, very particular and thorough about the products that we use for our units because we want our customers to have a good experience. Like that is our number one. We want them to have fun.
Yeah,
you
want
when you got problems.
You want them to buy again.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have problems with everything. You don't have fun. It
Sure.
becomes a pain point. And so we spent about 6 months redesigning all of our, well, longer than that, but 6 months of physical testing on our redesigned fifth wheels. And a lot of that was sending it out to a facility that basically, for lack of a better term, tortures the units. They send it on a test track and it beats it up and it simulates tens of thousands of miles on this. And what we found was the industry standard for suspension systems, particularly in fifth wheels, isn't basically where it could be. It could be better. And so we partnered with Kurt, which is a brand in the industry that does suspension and different RV parts and things like that. And we're now using what is called a slipper roller system. And I'm going to see if maybe we can lift this up and get you under here to see it. By the way, did you notice how easy those steps were to put up and down? How smooth was that?
Yep.
So
I point those out. They're big boy friendly too.
You can see the Kurt logo right here, and you've got these, these stoppers right there. And then if you come, it's kind of hard to see, I guess, but they call it a slipper roller system, which is, in my opinion, is a little complicated because even I didn't know what that means.
Sure, I don't even know what it is. I mean,
it's a heavy duty suspension system, and the best way that I can describe it to someone is, it's like your average fifth wheel suspension is going to be like your half-ton truck, your F-150, your Chevy Silverado 1500. This is like going to your 3/4 ton truck. It is designed to withstand much more abuse. It's way more heavy duty. It's maintenance free. Now, some stuff that I've seen on it is they say that it actually increases your fuel economy, which, if I'm being honest with you, I'm not 100% sure how that is. It might seem like a little bit of a stretch to me.
Sure.
I don't know if we have data that supports that. But the concept of this is your traditional fifth wheel suspension system. A lot of times you'll see right here in the center, maybe like a MORRIDE system where it's got the rubberized stuff in the center, right? Well, what that system is doing is it's taking all the vibration in the bumps and it's pushing it like this. And so you have the dampeners in the center.
Okay.
What that creates is a ton of shearing motion. And you'll find people that do really long trips or a lot of heavy travel, like if you go to the Alaska Trail, right? Kind of that bucket list RV trip, people will break their hanging shackles because there's so much torque and tension that comes to the center. It'll break the bolts on them and you're dead in the water. And so as we tested all this, you'll actually see, if you see these wheels here, there's video that you can see. If you have like that center suspension right there, when you're going over heavy bumps, it compresses so much that these tires can actually kiss.
Yeah.
And that's a big safety thing. You don't want that happening when you're doing 60 miles an hour.
So you're kind of changing the suspension around. So like a lot of times I preach about the wide stance axles.
Yeah.
For your travel trailers in particular. So that's kind of your workaround to that, to have the same quality, for maybe better quality, maybe the same, I don't know. That's kind of your workaround to that aspect, I would imagine.
Yeah, our opinion is that this is going to be, like, this is the best suspension system that we have found in today's environment for longevity. It's going to be able to take way more abuse. But when they call it slipper roller, what it's doing is it's actually moving up and down and side to side on some rollers on the end. So there's no shearing motion anywhere. It allows all that force to move this way. If you ever look at like a heavy duty commercial dump truck, it's designed to put 40,000 pounds of limestone in the back.
Sure.
They're operating on the exact same type of, watch your head, handle right there. There you go. It's the same concept of suspension. So this is the heavy duty suspension. And through our testing, we found, especially as fifth wheels are taller, when you turn corners, that's where you get a ton of that shear on those other suspension systems. So it's a very long-winded way of trying to explain this new system. It's a Kurt heavy-duty suspension system, and it makes a really big difference in towing. Okay, so that's one part of it. The other thing that we've changed in our fifth wheels is, you'll notice in here you have red drums. Okay, so the brake drums inside here is red.
Yep.
Well, we're doing ABS brakes on these, okay, on our 2025 fifth wheels. And, ABS isn't necessarily unique to us or anything like that, But it's not just ABS. And I have a personal, I guess, story about this because I own a 2025 Rockwood fifth wheel.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And actually, I call mine, it's a hybrid. It's a blended one of the inside and the outside. It was the first proto that we ever built. It was the first 2025 anything that was on the road. I wasn't allowed to talk about it for a long time. And I owned it for 3 months. I put 3,500 miles on it. And I didn't even know the full extent of what I had with the suspension and brake system. What this system is actually doing is it's not just ABS. It's actually an active stabilization system. So in a traditional trailer fifth wheel brake system, if you hammer the brakes and they lock up, that's the danger, right? Because it's almost like if you're on the boat and you're towing a tuber behind you, swings around, and that's when they roll. So what this system is doing is not only it's preventing them from locking up, which is what I just figured, right? ABS, it's not locking them up, but it's actually working with a computer module in there. So if it does start to ever get any sideways, it's pulsing the brakes, not necessarily to stop it from locking up, but keeping it true behind the truck. So if it ever goes anything like this, it's pulsing the brakes and it sucks it back in behind the truck. So you have...
So that's doing it from left and right side?
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah, that's what I
all
understood.
All 4 wheels works all there and it brings it back in. And you can find videos online. We could probably find one and you could share, but it's the testing of it.
There's probably one up on the screen right now.
Yeah, there you go. Click here.
Yeah.
And so,
should we get like a little quick thumbnail picture real quick there?
Yeah. Let's do
it. One thing that I always appreciated about Rockwood too is because I go down to the manufacturer, as you know, quite a bit.
Yeah.
When I was speaking with Mr. Miller, the general manager down there,
Carl.
I gained a great respect for Rockwood because obviously I've been in the RV industry for 12 years. So they're always a name that I've been primarily competing against.
Yeah.
But now that I'm taking more of a role on the video side, is that you're slow to change but quick to act.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is when you know there's a problem, you fix it right away.
Yep.
But when it's coming to like a new suspension system, from what I would gather from the personality down at the factory, is these changes didn't come lightly and they didn't happen right away.
Yes.
They are, tested. That's probably why you owned a camper for 3 months. They wanted you to test out, this and that, which is, there's only a few really monstrous names in the RV industry, and Rockwood Flagstaff are definitely, one of them. They're probably, if not the biggest name.
Yeah,
you have the
50 years.
Yeah, exactly.
We're celebrating our 50th anniversary, and it's actually funny because we ordered ours. It's not a demo. As hard as I tried to get them to give me a demo, it's mine. I had to buy it.
Sure.
And we actually had to wait. It was offline and wait. And it was funny is I basically became, a typical retail customer myself, where I'm like, where is my unit? Why isn't it shipping? And my wife's excited. We want to take trips. Well, they kept it longer because they wanted to do a few more tests where they were putting sensors on it and taking it over railroad tracks and doing this with my particular unit just to be 100% sure. And it's so hard to condense down what makes us different. But like you're saying, like we're quick to act when something's not right or whatever it is, but we're very, very intentional with the stuff that we use because we want good experience. And this was one of those examples. And again, I took this thing 3,500 miles from Central Texas through New Mexico, Colorado. I have a few embarrassing stories of things that I did that while I did them, I'm like, I'm never gonna be able to tell anybody that I did this. Like, that was stupid. Things that happened that I'm like, oh man,
Sure.
Something's gonna be really wrong in there. And it's a moment of pride for me when I got back from that big trip that we did of like, the only thing I had was I needed to put a little silicone on a screw in one of my skirt metals that was loose.
Well, I know people are tired of hearing it, but it is still a house going down the highway.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. But you try to find the best house.
Well, and all that, actually, it starts here. Like if you do the right suspension and you do the right brakes and the right tires and tire pressure monitoring, like you can't build a great house or a great structure without a strong foundation.
Speaking of that too, because we talk about the suspension, which is going to create less rattling throughout the rest of the coach. One thing that I really liked is, we'll get into some of the interior kind of bonuses, which a couple people saw me launch your dinette up into the air.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Great video. By the way, that's right here too, where you can click the link to watch that video.
Yeah. Thank you. Is the aluminum frame construction? Talk a little bit about that too, because that is I think a lot of salespeople, even when I was selling, I would say it's an aluminum frame construction. But what you are saying it is in a salesy pitch way.
Yes.
Because you're not talking about the roof necessarily.
Yeah.
In that, because everyone and their brother has an aluminum frame construction. However, it's not the full turtle shell, I guess I would call it.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think of the most politically correct way to say it, but there's a lot of, look here, isn't this great? And maybe it's fine, but it's not like the best. And I think you find that in a lot of brands, and I think we have a lot of owners in the RV industry that's why they're frustrated, right? Like they think they're getting something, but they don't know what they don't know.
It's about how you present it. You need to present it with what it is. I think people are okay with buying something without certain aspects as long as they know about it.
That's my point. You know, you'll find some that have a sticker on the outside and it's like aluminum cage construction. You're gonna sleep so good at night tonight, huh? It's aluminum cage. It's got the sticker.
Like a baby.
Yeah, it's got the sticker. But then you actually dive into it and you find out it only has aluminum in the sidewalls. And the rest of it is wood. The roof, the floor, the front wall, the rear wall, your slide rooms. It's all framed out in 1x2 or 2x2 pieces of pine. And it can feel deceiving, right? Where they think they're getting something that they're not. And this is one that's really, really important in my opinion, is one of the last brands in the industry that is all sides aluminum. And everything structural inside as well. And I'll show you some of those things. Like you talked about the dinette. There's some things inside that I'll show you that I think empowers people to look for. Because if you're shopping in an all aluminum fiberglass fifth wheel or travel trailer is really important to you because you think it's the best, you need to do your homework and make sure that that's actually what you're getting. Because the majority, if not almost all of our competitors, at a minimum, are wood in the roof, right? And so if they're telling you it's an all aluminum fifth wheel or travel trailer, well, it's not really true.
Sure.
And I think you're very similar to me of like, I'd rather just be straight with somebody. Like, no, it doesn't have that, and here's why. Or here's why we do this. And honestly, the reason that people still do a wood roof is because it's cheaper and easier to do.
Yeah,
it's easier on the plant.
It's hard for something for people like me to even show.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously, I mean, as you can see right there, you're not seeing the truss work on the ceiling and the inside.
Yeah.
That would be.
I'll give you I'll show you when we get inside a couple things that people can do to check.
Sure.
And because I'm a big believer too, though, in if we can empower people to know where to look for certain things, like, hey, if this is really important to you to have all aluminum, I'm going to show you a couple things that empower you so that now you can check for yourself. And I think that feels good as a consumer myself. Like, I like to have a little bit of information so that I know, like, okay, this is really not everything I thought it was. But the all aluminum construction matters so much because it's just a better way to build. Some people will say it's a little bit lighter weight. When we're in this type of size, like,
yeah, you're not
200 pounds is really not that big of a deal.
Sure.
It's going to last longer. You don't have wood to worry about. You don't have rotting issues. You're not shooting staples into everything that can pull apart and cause problems. It's going to last longer, and it matters a lot. And so we are one of the last brands in the industry that is all sides aluminum. And like I said, when we go inside, and you can see it here, you know, we do put these on every door that we have to help show people some of our stuff. But I mean, you can see the aluminum framing here, in our roof, which is all laminated, by the way. And we'll talk about that when we go inside.
Nice plug. By the way.
By the way,
it's a little superior.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, though, with from my 12 years of experience, and a lot of people have been watching me for the last 4 years, even with me not knowing, I didn't realize about your dinette or the bunks. That was all new to me. And as a guy, which you guys know, we have roundies out there, and then we got flats here, like Zach. But the roundies appreciate the extra oomph, especially with that dinette, because funny enough, when you told me about the dinette being aluminum, I started paying attention to it. And I had never broken a dinette before, but I was doing a video, and I put my knee into it, and I actually did snap one. Not a Rockwood product, by the way, but I did actually break through. And I had that panic moment.
You're like, do I tell people that I did this?
I was at the manufacturer, luckily.
Like,
so.
Sorry, guys. But you're exactly right. And that's a perfect example, though, of, okay, an aluminum frame dinette, it's very overbuilt, but the reason we do it is because we know there's tons of different people that are going to use it. You got kids that are going to jump on it. You got friends that maybe they're going to go to a music festival with you. I know you love music, and maybe they're going to sleep on that. Like, if you're doing a 1x2 piece of pine with a staple in it, it doesn't take much for that to fall in.
No, I snapped it with ease.
Yeah, and now you have a terrible experience.
I know I'm a bigger guy, but I'll never forget that, though. I'll never forget it.
And so we'll show you guys when we go inside and show you some of that stuff. But the all aluminum framing is a really big deal, and it's something that I don't ever see us getting away from. It's part of our core. we just truly believe in let's try to build the best possible product we can. There is no perfect RV. It'll never be built. They're made by humans, but we try damn hard to make it as good as possible. Like that is something that's to our core.
If it's going to rattle and shake, how can you keep it together?
Yeah.
Longer.
Like you live in a house. There's maintenance on a house.
For sure.
And that doesn't move. And so, but there's things that you can do and ways you can build to help mitigate those problems from happening. Suspension, tires, brakes, safety is huge.
Sure.
I mean, I know you're a great dad. You love your kids.
Oh yeah. Safety's on the top of my list.
Safety's there, man. I mean, it's, your wife wants to feel comfortable when they're strapping in and you're going to go do a long trip. Like that was my wife's one of the big questions is, hitches and truck, and is it set up right? Is it safe? Is it safe? Meanwhile, I'm just like, no, it's not. We need to get a bigger truck. I definitely need to upgrade the truck, babe. So
why don't we do this? Why don't we hop inside and then show a couple things on there and what to look for, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's go.
So let's check that out.
Let's do it.
All right. So where are we? Tell them where we are.
All right. So we're in a Rockwood travel trailer, the 8337. And the reason we're in this is because we were searching to find one that had a dinette in it and not just theater seating, because we wanted to be able to show you guys what we were just talking about with the all aluminum and why it's important. Okay. And this is one of those areas that I was saying empowers you as a consumer and owner, that when you're looking for something, and like we said, that the all aluminum construction matters, this is one of those little magic places to check, okay? Because they might tell you, oh, it's all aluminum construction, but then you get inside and you find all these structural things that isn't aluminum. And dinette is one of the main ones, okay?
Yeah, flip over
so
here.
Your dinette is very, very much underestimated in the amount of, I guess I would say abuse that it takes, but it's just purely from use, right? So in this floor plan, we have day-night shades, okay? Which, by the way, are MCD day-night shades, which are the same shades you're going to find in a $500,000 Class A bus.
You know the actual technical term for those, right?
What? You tell me.
Half Dracula and full Dracula.
Ooh, I like
Stop
it.
the skin from sizzling, keep some nosy eyes out.
That's why you are who you are. See?
Yep, there you go.
So, but let's imagine this. You got day-night shades. So if there's day-night shades, every morning I'm going to come in at a minimum and raise this up for the night shades and let the day shades go.
Let's
Same
take
thing
a
at
point
night.
on where your knee is
So
right there.
right there, let's see where this is. Okay,
That's where my knee went straight through.
right about here. We'll say it's right about by this button top here. So let's take this off, and I want to show you guys something.
And while he's doing that, I do want to point out, when they showed me that, in my 12 years, I had never seen that, which expresses how, one, how rare it is, but also, two, I was a pretty trained rep, I thought. I mean, I sold 200 units a year, and I worked in this for 10 years selling and managing, and I never had heard about that. Just so happened to be that right after I broke it. But it's crazy. That was crazy to me.
And so, remember how I said it was just inside from this button right here was where my knee was? Let's look down.
Okay, so that's the actual studding area.
So what we have here is, guys, this is all precision, laser cut, double welded aluminum, okay? Now, let me say something about double welded, because we're in Texas right now.
Sure.
And we get a lot of people who work in the oil field pipeline, and every time I mention double weld, inevitably you're going to find 10% of them part of the local 157, welders union or something. Always like, what are you talking about?
Sure.
I'm like, hang on, I'm reading your energy. Like, there is no such thing as a double weld in most people's sign. Okay. What I'm talking about is it's welded on both sides.
Gotcha.
Okay. So when I say double weld, and this is just the disclaimer for anybody that's listening that thinks I might be full of crap. That's what I mean when I say it. And you have double supports here, okay, that are double welded on both sides. When you go look at basically every other manufacturer out there, an industry standard, even when you have one of their mega dinettes, they're even bigger, you'll pull this up and you'll find that it's made out of 1x2 pieces of pine.
Super small.
It's very small.
Yeah.
With staples in it, and they'll have one cross member right here.
It actually, I never thought to open up one and look at it outside of, because usually, where's that piece that you did out? Usually they have this, so it's kind of hiding it, so I never looked at it, and it actually shocked me, because I'm a bigger guy, and I don't know why I've never actually questioned that before.
Well,
but I also got kids that are ding-dongs.
That's my point. Like, I'm 200 pounds, and if I take 200 pounds of pressure and put it right here 2 to 3 times a day, and then I've got kids, you've got kids, kids don't sit down, they do stuff like this. They're like, so, and then I was, they're jumping around like animals, and you're like, knock it off, And And like I said, maybe you take your buddy and you go to a music festival and you're breaking this down so they can sleep here. Like, it doesn't take much for a 2-inch staple to pop out of that, and that collapses, and it doesn't like ruin your camper, but it sure as hell makes a not fun experience for the weekend.
How common it was too, because I shared the story, and there's a lot of people that said that they did it.
It happens.
So
like, you talk to people about this, and it happens all the time, and it's an annoyance, right? Like, now it's just annoying. And so we overbuild this area right here, and the reason we do is because we don't want you to have those annoying things that go wrong where you just have a bad experience. So guys, it would be way easier, way cheaper for us to just do this in wood, right? Like, if it's out of square when you put it in with wood, guess what you do? You sink a couple more screws in there and just tuck it down a little bit tighter. You can't do that with aluminum.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think your video that you did, there's even that short one of throwing them around and everything, it's such a great visual for people to actually understand the difference of what that means. And so this is a great area that I tell people. Now, one thing, and this is a personal gripe that I have with our amazing people at the plant, but I've asked them for years to stop screwing down the tops on these, but they do that so it won't slide around.
Oh yeah, it's important to point that out too.
And so if you lift it up, and like this side's screwed down here and you got a little finger hole, you can't necessarily get it up to see, but you can see the aluminum around here. Yeah. So they screw this down, and they do it so that this doesn't pop up ever and slide around.
Sure.
That's why they do it. It just makes it really hard for me to show people. So
but where you can see it is the bed.
Right. So let's go in here and check this out. So every bed base that we build is the same as our dinette. And I encourage, get the handle here, everybody to check this area. Look at all the aluminum underneath here.
Yeah, it's not even just right here. It's down on the framing itself.
All the framing, even your drawers, the supports for your drawers. And you'll see we put pieces of wood in here, but that's just so you have something to bite into for the screws, for the drawer glides. Otherwise, it's just hollow aluminum.
Sure.
This is really important. And basically everybody else does the same thing. They might beef it up with 2x2 pieces of pine in the bed base.
It's overwhelmingly mostly wood.
Yeah. And so why does that matter, right? Well, let's imagine same thing. Every day I'm coming in, long day, taking my shoes off, putting my socks on. These corners, getting that stress in the corner constantly over and over and over again, the staples pull out. And now you want to talk about a customer who's having a bad weekend is when their bed base does this. Like, you're married, I'm married. My wife would be so annoyed that I would get annoyed even worse through the weekend. And then I'd call you on Monday and be like, dude.
I had a bed frame that had slats. There are wood slats underneath. They'd constantly fall off the track. That thing went in the trash so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's those such annoying things.
You don't mess with your bed.
But that's where I tell people too, if you're going to be out there and looking at brands and you want an all aluminum built trailer or fifth wheel, check these areas. Because this is where you'll find that people are using wood and they're cutting corners on you. And I always think about it like this, like if they're cutting corners on me in a place that I can easily see, you need to start asking yourself, what are they doing in the rest of this that I can't see, that they're actually hiding? And a lot of times you'll see like underneath here, you'll lift this up, and they've gotten a little, I guess maybe smart. And what they'll do is they'll frame it all out in like pieces of wood, like trim, this type of stuff.
That's the only part that
so it looks
bothers
finished.
me is the deceit, any sort of deceit with it.
Yeah.
Because it's okay, it's perfectly okay to have wood framing for underneath the bed, and I've seen it work really well for years. But don't pitch it as all aluminum, everything's aluminum, residential. Because not every camper is residential.
Correct.
And that's perfectly okay. That's price point. That's maybe you're just taking it for a weekend once a month.
Sure.
There's different things. And then there's, camper that I would consider a little bit more of a premium. You're paying a little bit more for a Rockwood than you would be for a lot of the entry-level campers out there, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's because you're getting, things like this. You're going to be, you can use a Rockwood, those months out of the year.
Yeah. I mean, they're built to be used.
Yeah, for sure.
That's where there's just, again, it goes back to that thing that I was saying about I think what the industry finds is an acceptable standard with a lot of things, we just don't necessarily agree with. We're not saying it's bad. We just think that in some cases there's better ways to do it. And this is a better way to do it. Because now your bed base isn't going to collapse.
Well, your average Rockwood customer, it's more of a culture thing because they are camping a lot more. This is more of your serious camper product.
Yeah. And it's one of those funny comments that I hear all the time though too, is like, once you go Rockwood, like that's all you want. You go Rockwood, you're never going back. What are you laughing about?
I was thinking of a different thing.
So while we're in here, I think this is a great opportunity to talk to, when we were talking about all aluminum and the roof, right? Mm-hmm. It's really difficult to determine, hey, does this have an aluminum roof or not? Well, there's a simple way for us to be able to do that. And ours is an all aluminum roof, but it's not just an all aluminum roof. It's a laminated roof, okay? So it's 4.5 inches thick of block foam.
Okay.
Now, what that allows me to do is...
Yeah, okay.
Okay? This is, I call it the Yeti roof, okay? Because everybody knows what a Yeti cooler is, right? Like,
sure.
Badass coolers, they're awesome. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. I don't know if that's...
Nah, I believe it.
Demonetizes you on YouTube or something.
No.
But they're amazing coolers, bear proof, all that stuff. If you take a Yeti cooler and you cut it in half, it's block foam, laminated inside plastic.
Okay.
Rotomolded plastic.
Sure.
Block foam, laminated inside plastic. It's all composite.
Yeah,
so
really a big Yeti.
It's the Yeti cooler between you and the sun. So it's going to be cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. Now, I just pounded on that roof, and I always tell people, do it on the side because we do mold our ductwork into the block foam. So it's hollow right here. Don't just hit on a roof. If you go to one of our competitor products, just go to the roof and touch.
Oh, yeah.
Push.
That's for sure.
It's soft because it's hollow. And
you
what
can
it
actually
is,
do that on the side of most of the slides. Too.
Yeah. And all of our slide ends are laminated, and so what that means is if you just touch on a roof, I wouldn't go around punching on roofs if anybody's shopping out there. Just touch them, and it'll tell you if it's a little bit soft and spongy, that means it's hollow, and then they're using wood trusses and fiberglass insulation, and then it's the whole thing that everybody says, like, it's residential construction, though. It's a vented attic. And it always makes me laugh because I'm like, well, yeah, it's residential construction from 1950. If you go to a modern home,
sure,
go to the attic, it's all spray foam, 100% sealed, because it's a more efficient way to do it. It's a better way to do it. This is the best way to build a roof. It's the best way to control your climate. All of our ductwork is molded into the block foam. There's no elbows that separate. There's no tape up there.
Okay.
This is the premier way to do it. That's a great way for someone to know if the roof is made out of wood or not. And so again, it's just like the dinette base and the bed base. If you're touching this and it's soft, it's going to be wood. And if they're telling you it's an all aluminum trailer, maybe not.
You're gonna have me punching a lot of RVs now in videos.
That's why I tell everybody, like, don't go around punch a bunch of roofs when you're out there. Touch them. You can hit ours. But this is the best way to build a roof. It's going to run a heck of a lot cooler in here in the summertime, and it's going to run warmer in the winter with using less, furnace.
Absolutely. Cool. All right, so now we are over at the bunk. Let's talk about it.
Yep. So as we're talking about, and we're beating this to death, right, of all aluminum and why it's so important. But again, there's so many little places.
It is important, and it should be.
It's super important.
Yeah.
And this is another one that's, I guess, sneaky sometimes. Bunks. Okay. A very important structural piece.
And I never thought about it.
Right, because nobody
never would think about it. Yeah.
Right. Everybody in the industry standard is, again, pieces of pine that are stapled together and put in here. What we do is all aluminum. And it's hard to see because we actually, clean it up so it looks good. But if you get underneath here, you can see right under there.
Babe, if you're watching, I love you. But yeah, it's right there, so you can tell.
Yep. That same aluminum that you're seeing underneath bed bases is what we use in your bunk when we frame out your bunks. And to me, I mean, I'm a parent, you're a parent, like the last thing you want to think about is, hey, does your 14-year-old that's sleeping on the top bunk crash through in the middle of the night and land on your 4-year-old? Like, it's just little things like this that someone would never know that this is framed out in aluminum underneath here because we seal it off like this, but we hear time and time again, like, I just don't have problems with my Rockwood and Flagstaff.
Well, that's what I was going to say too, is you guys almost do it to your detriment,
yeah,
but the customers benefit for the fact that you do put the trim on there to make it a little bit nice, as opposed to seeing wood, aluminum wood, being an eyesore. Instead of showing off, you're doing it because no salesperson, I shouldn't say no, I'm just basing that off my experience. I never showed that, and quite frankly, I wouldn't even know where to look.
Right.
And I'm not peeking on the folds.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be, a lot of people will probably learn that with me.
I've actually asked, and I think it makes like their OCD back at the plant start getting itchy. I'm like, hey, can you guys actually start cutting this back a little bit, on the wood that covers it? Because they try to make it so it fits perfect. I'm like, hey, can you cut it back like half an inch so we can see the aluminum in there for people? And of course, they're so particular about building it the right way and making sure it looks good and everything. I'm like, I know that bothers you and you work really hard to do it, but people need to see it.
I'd at least put a sticker.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And again, most people don't know. We don't know what we don't know. It's like your experience shopping for a camera.
Yeah,
sorry to pick a sore subject.
Let's stay happy.
Yeah, but it's, after you got it and then you learned and then you're like, oh, this isn't what I wanted. And that's where I tell a lot of people, it's like, I mean, we can help you get your second camper first. Mm-hmm. The Rockwood Flagstaff product it has so much to offer that others don't. And a lot of times, especially that first time buyer, they don't know what they don't know. And they might have a bad experience.
Because I sold almost through brutal honesty. Like sometimes it was to my problem. Mm-hmm. But I always told, when people were talking about budget, whether it's $20 or $30 a month, or whether it's $3,000 or $4,000 more, if you're talking about, this one versus the other one, and you don't want to stretch it out, the most expensive camper is going to be the wrong one. Yeah. The one that if you keep an RV, because, as we all know, unfortunately, it's like a car, the trade-in values or the resale values. Mm-hmm. This is an investment in your family.
Yes.
You're better off spending that extra couple grand to get extra stuff like that if it means you keep this longer.
Absolutely.
If you're not going to keep it any longer than you are, then whatever. Who cares about which floor plan you get? Obviously, go with the best camper you can. But the longevity of it makes a big difference.
You get what you pay for
sure.
Right, and it's a lot of times it takes a moment for us to think differently. Of we're super hung up on just what's the price on the paper, and we don't think about the cost of ownership. Mm-hmm. The cost of that other one being in the shop so many times because the bunks fell or the dinette fell.
Or the construction again, the rattling
around. Yeah, and the struggle that creates for you and your family where now you can't use it. And there's so many intangible costs that go into that sometimes, what's crazy though? A lot of times we're really not more money. And then when you look at other products in our segment that are basically the same money and you see what they're doing, mm-hmm. that or not doing that we do, and you're like, how are they even asking that much money for that?
When they look good, the core team crushes it.
Yeah, it's a big deal to take your time, learn things, and if these are important items for you, it's worth you looking at and going deeper in it. There's just, again, it's that education piece that I think is really lacking, and I'm the same as you. I'm just really honest about stuff. You tell me what your needs are and what you want to do.
I told you, I sold RVs for 12 years and I didn't know that there was aluminum frames in the dinette. Yeah. That's crazy. All right, cool. Give him a bowling gun.
What's that?
Bowling gun.
Bowling gun?
Yeah, you got to give him a bowling gun.
Oh, I was going to do the...
All right, so I have brought this up in a bunch of different videos about the two different types of water heater. You have mm-hmm. gas and electric, and then you also have the more overwhelmingly popular these days is the tankless.
Yep.
And I've explained a couple of the differences. However, you shared something with me that I wasn't even aware of. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I think tankless right now is kind of all the rage or the popular one. People, they hear, hey, endless hot water. Mm-hmm. Sounds great, right?
Yeah, on demand.
On-demand hot water. Again, going back to how I've said, we're very particular about the components that we use and we're very thorough in our testing and everything. And as of today, we still stay with a traditional tank system, okay? And there's multiple reasons why we do that. One of the reasons is there can be a lot of issues with a tankless water system, especially when it comes to winterization.
Okay.
If you have any water still in that system and you get a freeze that comes through, there's little coils and fins in there, and they're very, very sensitive. And they're like little copper, and they just split open just a little bit.
And those are the same coils that are the reason why it heats up so fast, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's the benefit. But if you get in a real freeze situation, and you don't have it winterized and drained properly, they split open, and now you have to replace the entire thing. You can't really repair that. So that's one of the hurdles that you have. The main one on like a day-to-day basis though is, especially in Texas where we're at today, mm-hmm. In a lot of places, the majority of our owners out there are in campgrounds. And when you're pulling into the KOA or whatever and you're $75 a night.
Yeah, electric.
Your electric's included. When you have a tankless system that's on demand, they'll talk about how it's 30% more efficient. It's like, well, hang on though. You can never flip that off and go to electric only.
Also, what does that mean when it's a water heater? 30% more effective. Like, it's either hot water or it's not hot water.
Yeah, that's where it's like I don't understand some of that. So, but on our fifth wheel, I run electric in all the campgrounds. Why would I burn my propane that costs me money when I'm already paying for the electric.
Now, I don't know if you know this. Is there any difference in burn rate between your propane and theirs?
That might be where they talk about it's 30% less propane or something when you're doing it. I don't know all the data and the numbers on it. The winterization thing, the no electric, and then the other one is, are you familiar with what's called cold water gapping? So in a tankless hot water system, the way it works is you have to turn it on, okay? And then there's a check valve inside there, and it measures how much water's flowing through it. And if there's enough water flowing through it at a gallon per minute, it'll fire up the burners, okay? What can happen is if you're in a low pressure campground where you're not getting enough water flow, it won't turn on. But the other side of that is you can't shut it off.
Okay.
So if I'm gonna start cleaning dishes, and I've got 2 little kids, and we're cleaning dishes. When I'm cleaning dishes, I take a handful of them, clean them up, shut off the hot water, dry them, put them away so that I have space to do more.
Sure.
In a tankless hot water system, once I shut that off, that burner shuts off. Once I turn it back on, you might get a little bit of hot water that's left still in that line, but then you're gonna get a gap of cold water while that's sensing the flow of water coming back through it, and you get this giant cold water gap. The problem with that is, first of all, you can't shut it off. So even if you're in a campground, you're gonna fill your gray tank really fast because you're burning through water. What if you're dry camping? You're sucking all your fresh water out of your tank and filling your gray tank because you can never shut off your hot water. So you're not taking a traditional RV shower where you open it up, rinse off with the hot water, shut it, soap up, open it back up, and rinse off again, right? So you're filling your gray tank and chewing up your fresh tank when you have an on-demand water heater like that. And so when we look at this in combination, right, we service the entire United States and Canada. You have people that use these in so many different ways. That tankless system might be great for if you and your family spend 6 months living in it in one campground and you don't care that your gray tank is full and you're just running through it, like it's great for you and your family. But for the average owner that we have to fit the needs of everybody, this is tried and true. It works. They're quick recovery. Like I said, I've got a wife and 2 daughters, and I have never taken a cold shower.
I feel you.
You know, and that's just running it off electric. So from all of our testing, and we've had the tankless systems where they build special shrouds for us, and then we sit them outside over winter and we test them there and do it. We call it our little Amish R&D facility that we have. And I think it's like 75% of them failed. So it just, for us, I'm not saying they're all going to fail and everything like that, but the technology isn't quite there yet. What's that?
30% won't.
Yeah. So they won't all fail, but it's just not there yet, and we don't think it's the best thing. Now, if somebody's just got to have it and that's what they want, a dealer can pull this out and put a tankless in. You know, it's not a big deal to do it. But that's the reasoning behind it. And again, it comes back to our conversation around education. I think people hear it and they're like, oh, it sounds amazing. The education side of understanding the trade-offs that you have, right? That's what helps someone make a good choice for them in their situation. So
yeah, there's always a good situation for somebody.
Yeah. So I'm not saying they're bad necessarily.
So I didn't know actually about the water lag, because even in my videos I always say it's instant, on-demand hot water, and I snap my fingers like that. But I've actually never used one. I've used a gas and electric, obviously, but that's what I was pitched on. That is that it was an instant thing. What's the time set? Because obviously I've been unintentionally lying to people.
So it depends. There's a lot of variables to be able to give you an answer on that. Obviously, you're going to have to, how much gallons per minute it's going through. Is it taking longer for that check valve to kick in or not? And then what's your length from water heater to your shower or your sink, right? Because it's got to travel that line, get enough gallons per flow going through it, and then you got to wait till all that water gets out before you start getting hot. So it may, quote, instantly turn on the burners when you have
but
30 gallons per minute going through.
Water. It's instant hot water at the point, maybe.
Yes, and there's a difference, right? Because if you go look at a $500,000 motorhome, and they have I think it's called like Aqua Hot or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like a $10,000 instant hot water system that's in there. That's a totally different animal when, hell, that's half the price of some of these towables that use a tankless system.
Sure. They also might be heating the floor with it. Yeah,
like that's a totally different world than what we're using in day-to-day with traditional travel trailers and fifth wheels. Again, I'm not saying that what we have in our segment out there for tankless is bad. It's just there's drawbacks.
Sure.
And me personally, I wouldn't even want one.
Cool.
So that's the story with tankless and why we don't use it, and we stay with the tried and true tank system.
All right. All right, guys, so that is a video on why buy Rockwood. Drop your comments down in the description. Let me know how Zach and I did. This was the first time in there, and I've already got some ideas on how to provide you with more value as I move forward, kind of doing the Why Buy X series. If you have any ideas for videos, any comments, concerns, anything that you can do to help me help you, I am all about it. I'm getting ready to head down to Florida on a little family vacation. So the next time you guys see me, I'll be a little bit tanner, probably a little bit, happier, get the endorphins from the sun. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Why buy Rockwood? I think it is clear they have a very, very well-built product with excellent people. And Zach, you're one of the best reps in the entire game. I appreciate all of your guys' times, whether you're the viewer or Zach, for you helping me out with this video.